Hi, everybody. Good morning. Just getting connected to Facebook. We'll start soon. If you have questions, just drop them in the Q&A box so that we can go through them. All right. I see your questions starting to come in. Perfect. I've got a couple of emails to go through today as well. So we're going to wait for our Facebook Live to go through, which I think it has. And we can get started. Let's see. Hi, Jim. All right, you guys, before we get started, I have a question for all of you. We are already trying to get guests to come on. I know every once in a while we have guests, like we've had Jane Friedman, we've had Paula Munet. We like to have guests every once in a while on Free Advice Friday to answer your questions. And I am wondering, what kind of guests would you like to see in the next couple of months? Do you want to see more traditionally published authors? Do you want to see people who are killing it using just Amazon and KDP? Do you want more literary agents or actual publishers? Who would you like to see and pick their brain on Free Advice Friday? If you start putting it in the chat box, I would love to know, because we have so many contacts and sometimes we just don't think to invite them on Free Advice Friday. So I would absolutely to know your thoughts on that so we can start inviting those people on. All right. Hi, David. Hi, Kathleen. We've got actual publishers and business professionals related to book business. Okay. More nonfiction authors. Love it. Happy Friday to you too, Sonia. All right. All right. So it seems like nonfiction authors. What bookstores are looking for in fiction? Okay. I like that. These are really good ideas. Keep them coming because, like I said, we have so many contacts in the US, abroad, and if you guys give me more ideas of the guests you would like to see, then I will go out and start asking them to be guests on our show because I think that's super fun. And certainly while Amy and myself have lots of marketing knowledge, it's always cool to hear from different people in the publishing industry who have different experiences and so much knowledge and information. So keep it coming. I love this. All right, let's see. How many more? Bookstore owners, that's a really good idea. I can reach out to some of the bookstore owners I know. Children's book authors, that's a good one. Okay, independent nonfiction authors, so lots of requests for nonfiction. That is good to know. Guy Kawasaki. Linnea, I don't think Free Advice Friday and New Shelves is quite popular enough for Guy Kawasaki, but you know what? You never know unless you ask. So good one. All right. Foreign country and marketing books in other languages. Great. That's a good one. Librarians, author podcasters. Ooh, author podcasters. That's a good one there, Carolyn. Experts who can advise on ways to research readers for fiction. Okay, okay. Nancy, that's actually something we cover, so I can actually help you with that today. All right, journalists, how to get your book in the news. I love this. This is great ideas. I'm going to take all of them and I'm going to go start finding our contacts who might fit the bill and asking what their schedule's like over the next couple of months. People who illustrate and write their books, especially children's. I have an illustrator. Oh, I have an illustrator who might actually be willing to come on. These are great ideas, you guys. Thank you. I absolutely cannot wait to start reaching out to some of these people. If you think of more people that you would like to see on Free Advice Friday, send it in. Questions at freeadvicefridays with an S at the end.com. Send in your suggestions because we're here to kind of help and serve you guys. So having an idea of who you'd like to see on here, who you'd like to talk to and ask questions of really helps us plan it out so that we can be as useful and as effective as possible. All right, we're going to go silent for just a minute, and then we are going to get started with Free Advice Fridays. All right, welcome to Free Advice Fridays. My name is Keri Barnum. I am the Executive Director of New Shelves Books, and we are here to answer your questions live. Sorry, I've got a gnat that persists in my house. Let's see. Our first question today is how to determine best order for my book, ebook first, paper, or hardback? Well, Lori, generally you're going to put out your ebook with either your hardcover or your paperback. In traditional publishing, it's very common for them to put out the ebook in the hardcover first in tandem. You put those out together, and they will keep out just the hardback for, I don't know, I mean, sometimes up to a year before they release a paperback or a mass market, depending on popularity. And so that's traditional publishing. With self-publishing, because there are more print options for paperback, it's most common to do an ebook and a paperback at the same time. And then if your genre calls for it, if you are in children's books, if you are in business books is another one that we see a lot of hardcover, memoir, they will do a hardcover. But honestly, not every self-published book even needs a hardcover. So definitely when you're launching, I'd be looking at your paperback and your ebook, and you launch them at the same time, same day. Okay. Do you have any suggestions about marketing reviews that appear in online reviewer sites? So if someone has reviewed your book and it's not on your website, it's not on Barnes & Noble or Amazon, how do you use those and how do you market those reviews? And the answer is really easy. You borrow them. If it's posted online, it's then public domain, and you have the opportunity to take that review, quote it on your own website. You can put it in editorial reviews of your Amazon reviews. You can quote it in your marketing media kit. You can use it in that kind of way, and I highly recommend that you do, that you start marketing that out that way. Sorry, my eyes are a little twitchy because I've been on about a week-long migraine. So if I start doing twitches, that's why. So yeah, I would say you market those directly on your own site. You just take them and you can use them. It's public domain. If it's a quote from like a really big person and you for sure know it was posted on their website or big review website, if it's Kirkus or Midwest Book Review, you can even put it on your book cover. So use it like you would any editorial review and start using it in your marketing campaigns that way. All right, guidance on pricing and category selection. Lori, that's a really good question. And unfortunately, that is one of the things that is so specific to every individual book. When you're looking at pricing, you're going to look at your most recent comps, the comps that have books out in the last year. You're going to be looking at comps that have similar page count as you, similar popularity. Is it your first book or have you been out for a while? Sometimes that can drive the price up if you've got a following. Your price can be determined by, is it hardcover? Is it full color? Is it black and white? There are so many considerations, but the best place to start is look at the comps that directly relate to you, both in page count, category, genre, and then start feeling out how much they are pricing their books at, and then try to get right there in the middle. You don't want to be with the highest, you don't want to be at the lowest, try to go right there in the middle. As far as category selection, that is deep as well. Again, look at your comps. On your comps, if you go on Amazon at least, when you look at your comp authors or books that are like yours, they will have a category list on the bottom. Go down to that list, click on it, it's hyperlinked, and it will take you to the Amazon bestsellers in that category. This will give you a really good idea. If you find books that are very similar to yours, find them and see what categories they're in. And that's a really good way to pick your own categories. All right, let's see down here. Okay, here's a good one. Randy is saying, I saw a video during one of my educational binges that suggested that even with the 55% discount, small bookstores only get a 5 to 10% discount, making it financially unfeasible for them to purchase our books. True. Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Every once in a while, you will get a book or a bookseller who doesn't have the same accounts as big booksellers, and they don't get the same discounts. I have only seen that very rarely. Most of the time, especially if you're using Ingram Spark for Ingram, your book will be set at the same discount across the board because Ingram Spark is really set up with small indies in mind. So that's not usually the case. Every once in a while, though, if you do get a bookstore that says, hey, your book is only at a 10% discount, and then you're going, but I set it at a 55% discount, that may be what's happening. But I work with hundreds of books every single year, and I've run into that 2 times, just 2 ever. So it can happen, but it's not a common thing. It's not something I would spend my nights worrying about. Very rarely happens. And if that does happen and the bookstore is willing to take your book, I would strongly recommend that you ask them if they take a book on consignment, because then you can easily go ship books to them at your discount and then give them the 55% discount and make the profit yourself. So work around it. All right. Based on your earlier response for self-published books, what are the best genres to publish a hardcover book that would be most successful? Terry, hardcover books are mainly selling in memoir. That's a really popular one. Another one is business books are very popular in hardcover, and children's books. Those are the 3 genres that sell best in hardcover. That is not to say that mysteries don't sell in hardcover, or that young adult fiction doesn't sell in hardcover. They do, especially to libraries. However, most of the hardcover books that are selling in those popular fiction genres, they are selling because they are collector's covers, or it's coming out from a big publisher and it's all they offer at first. So if you are self-publishing and you're looking at hardcover, I'd be looking at something that is generally considered giftable. So if it's a book, let's say it's a graduation book, that could go into hardcover, because generally when you're gifting someone, hardcover just looks nicer and richer. So if it's a giftable book, a cookbook, also very popular in hardcover, children's book, and a biography, and a business. That's really where I'd stick to with hardcover. Otherwise, it can be done, but I wouldn't stress too much about getting hardcover in most fiction categories. All right. Page count in children's book. Where Kindle has 2 pages per screen, can we request the ebook match paperback page count? No. Generally, it's done by a bot. I mean, you can request it. Absolutely, Carolyn. You can send it in. You can request that Amazon matches your page count for your ebook and your paperback, especially when they're showing a side-by-side view in one. However, usually they don't, or they just kind of, it is what it is. Their bots calculate it. That's what shows up on the page. That's what they put in. So you can ask them to, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. And rarely will they go ahead and do that, in my personal experience. Amazon is full of different reps, so you may get a different answer. All right, let me see. Let's go to an emailed question. We have a ton of questions coming in today, which I love. So keep putting those Q&As in the box. And I'm going to go to an emailed question. And welcome to John. John just was recommended to watch Free Advice Fridays by his neighbor, Alan. So thank you, Alan, and welcome, John. And John says, I'm publishing my first book and will use Ingram Spark. Alan says I should create a publisher name rather than use my own when getting an ISBN. Alan, you're a good student. Good job. My question is whether that made-up publisher name should be actually registered as a business. John, that's a great question. You can register your publisher name as a business. You can do a LLC, a DBA, but you do not have to. If you're going to treat it like a business and you plan to have a long-term career as a publisher and an author, or if you are expanding your business beyond just books, let's say it's a nonfiction book that will go into a different brand for selling, I don't know, t-shirts or selling webinars, whatever it may be, you may want to go the business route and actually get a DBA or a LLC, but you do not have to publish a book. That's totally up to your personal decision. I do recommend that if you are in touch with a lawyer or a CPA, that you ask them if there are any benefits for you personally, but you don't have to. You can literally just make up a publisher name and go register it with Bowker and buy your ISBNs. So either way can work, but know that it's something that needs to work for you personally. And that's where I would recommend that you decide based on that. All right, using images in my book from Pixabay, Wikimedia Commons, or Pinterest, what are the pros and cons plus copyright risks? Dean, whenever you are doing anything with pictures in your book, make sure they're copyright free. Make sure that you go and you find them. I personally stick to things that we have that we pay for subscriptions. So if you have a subscription for copyright free imaging and you use those, it should be covered under that and that licensing agreement, as long as you check and make sure you can be used for that. But when in doubt with images for your book, go cautiously. I would say if you're on the edge, if you're not sure, like Pinterest pictures, probably you don't have the copyright. If you're going through Pixabay, especially if you've got paid subscriptions, you're probably covered. Always check to make sure that it's copyright and royalty free. And if it's not, just move on by. It's not worth the hassle that you'll hit later on to save a few bucks in the front end. All right. I am working on writing and illustrating 3 children's books that will go together in a series. Being totally clueless about marketing, I wonder where and when to start. I love that, Pat. Marketing starts immediately. If you've got a book and you're writing it, your marketing should start immediately, because that is when you can start building your audience. And that doesn't mean that you have to go start spending hundreds of dollars on ads. It's not what I mean. But what you should do is get yourself an author page, start talking about your work, start communicating and getting into writing groups and online in the writing community, because that is the community that you will build, and they are the ones who will help lift you up and market your book when it comes out. So absolutely, I would say go for that. Start marketing now. When you release your children's books, you will start actually marketing. So I'd say when you have a launch date for your first book is when you start planning your launch. And so as you start planning your launch, you're planning your ad, you're planning to have graphics, you're planning your newsletter email that announces your book. There are so many things that you want to plan for the actual launch, and you usually do that a month or 2 in advance. But the marketing, the talking, the building your platform should start immediately, Pat. All right, let's see. Yes. Thank you, Randy, for that about the migraine. Yes, I know we've had some crazy weather, and so I know what it is, and I am being checked out. Thank you. And I'm fine. Thank you very much for your concern, but it's just one of those things sometimes you got to live with. But thank you very much. All right, let's see. I'm wondering what to do with reviews when we get them. Well, Kathleen, if you get them on your Amazon page or your Barnes & Noble page, just be grateful for them. It's great to have those reviews because those help your book sell. All the studies say that people look at reviews, they trust reviews, and products and books with reviews are more likely to sell. And that is why reviews matter. So absolutely be thankful for them. Now, if you're getting a review on a blog, on Kirkus, on something like that, put it into your editorial reviews on Ingram Spark, put it on your editorial reviews on Amazon through Author Central. If you have editorial reviews that are fantastic, put them on your marketing sheets, on your website. It's a great thing when someone else says something nice about you, especially if it's a third party, because my dad, who, God bless him, is an amazing man and loves me very much, can say, oh, Keri writes the best. She just has the best stories. And everyone's going, oh, yeah, your little girl does. That's great. But if Kirkus or Publisher Weekly says, Keri Barnum's book is a standout in 2020 or 2020, whatever it is, that counts for more. It's a third party. They're not emotionally invested. So make sure that you consider that if you've got some big reviews from third parties. Splash them all over your marketing. They count for a lot, and they can definitely help elevate your book in marketing considerations. All right. An author asked me recently about whether it makes sense to create a pop-up display for their books. Is that attractive to retailers? And if so, do you have a recommendation for where to get them? Tara, I just need some clarification. Are we talking about a physical pop-up, like to go in a bookstore, or are we talking about a pop-up online? If you can clarify for me on that, either in the chat or the Q&A. A physical pop-up, great. So here's the thing. A physical pop-up, if you are doing a book signing, if you are doing an event, fantastic. It's really nice. It's attention-getting. However, if you are getting a physical pop-up just for any old bookstore that has not promised you front of house consideration, a marketing table, something like that, they're probably not going to take the room. Generally, when a bookstore is agreeing to take books, they're putting them on the shelf. They're not putting them on a big display unless you're paying for the privilege. So most of the time, it's a nice thought, but most bookstores are not going to give you the space and the time for a big pop-up unless it's for an event or a signing. If it's for an event or a signing, I've seen some beautiful pop-ups that really grab attention of people walking by. I've seen people who print off like big full color posters of their cover that they have on there, and I think those are always beautiful and welcome. But if it's just for a bookseller that has agreed to stock their books, it probably won't go over well. I would say rather than that, do something like personalized. Number one, ask if you can sign the copies in the store. I would look into something like bookmarks, where you can have a bookmark that is put into every single book. So it doesn't necessarily draw attention to the book, but people who open it feel special. And that will make them want to connect to the author a little bit more and possibly go on to buy other books from that author, connect with them online, get on their website. So I would be spending my money and my budget on something like that for the general bookstore that you may be getting your books into. All right, I love this. I've got about 20 questions in the Q&A box that we're getting through. So if I haven't gotten to yours yet, I promise they're here. It's just going to take a minute. Okay, and Terry's asking, what about if it's not a bookstore? Same thing counts. Shelf space is limited. So if this is a retailer, if they're doing an event, if they've been promised or told that they would have a marketing spot on a table, absolutely. Make sure it's to scale. Make sure you ask before bringing it. But if it is not promised that that person will have a table space or a display, then go cautiously. All right, let me see. Excuse me. I didn't even vampire cough. I'm so bad. But I'm alone, so we're good. All right. Entirely different question from Alan. I reviewed a book on Amazon of someone I know casually. I really loved the book and said so, but the review never appeared. How do I check why? Alan, I'm sorry, you can't. So the way that that works is Amazon can post a review or not. It's their website. It's their property. They're allowed to do what they want. Excuse me. So when you are doing a review, Amazon has the right to say no. They have the right not to post it. And generally, if they don't, it's because you mention the author too familiarly. So if I say, my son wrote this book and I think it's fantastic, they have the right to say it's a biased review and not put it up. Or if you are linked to them online. Amazon is the US for sure, and I believe the world's second largest search engine. And they collect a lot of data. They have data from so many social media websites and things like that. So if you're friends with this person on Facebook, and then you leave a review on Amazon, and you have the same logins for your Amazon account and your Facebook account, sometimes Amazon will know and they'll say, nope, they're friends, it's a biased review, and they don't post it. We don't really get to know why, and we never have the opportunity to like plead our case. Amazon just says, nope, and they move on. And this is not a person saying this, this is a bot. So if you call up and say, well, why did you not take my review? They'll be like, we have no clue what you're talking about, because it's already kind of been swept under the rug and moved on. So unfortunately that happens, but we just kind of work with it and move on. However, I will say that if your review does not show up on Amazon and you really did love the book and you want to support the author, consider going to Goodreads, going to Barnes & Noble and leaving reviews there. That's always helpful as well. And not many people get Barnes & Noble reviews. Even books that are wildly popular have very few reviews on Barnes & Noble, but they're still a bookseller and they still definitely count. So I think you can go over there, and that is wonderful as well. All right. I'm placing short reviews on the front page of my book. I include each reviewer's name and a 5 or 4-star designation. Do I have to identify that they're from Amazon.com as well? No, Victoria, you don't. You can use their name. You can say reader review, however you like, but you don't have to say an Amazon.com review. In fact, I would not recommend that, because if you ever plan to be in bookstores, it's very rare that they're going to open up your book and want to see Amazon.com plastered all over one of the front matter pages, and still want to carry your book. So I would just say read a review or use their name, as long as it's out there on Amazon and it's, you know, it's up, it's public domain, you're good to go. All right. Let me see. I love it. All right, let's see. I've got lots and lots of things in here. Let me see. For a complicated book with many images and a variety of font and formatting styles, what do you suggest for the best publishing options and strategy? Dean, that's a loaded question. If you have a complicated book that's got images and font styles and formatting styles, number one, I would ask, does it need to? Does it need to have a lot of formatting and font? Does it add to the book? And can it be simplified? That's my first question, because many times if you've got a lot going on, it's a lot for the reader and it's not necessarily cohesive. So I would give yourself an honest check and see if the book is more complicated than it needs to be. Then if you decide, nope, it absolutely needs this, it's got graphs, it's got things that are really helpful to my reader, and you're looking at publishing options, you also need to look at your formatter. You need to have a formatter that is very skilled and that can do graphs, that can do special images. And when you're doing that, expect to pay for it. Formatting for a book with a lot of images and formatting will immediately just require so much more formatting, and it will be more expensive. Then when you're publishing, consider that your ebook will also need more formatting and will probably be a larger file. Much like a cookbook, rarely can you make a cookbook cheaper than $2.99 on Amazon, because the file is so big and the delivery fees and charges. So keep that in mind, that it may affect that as well. I still think you go about it, you do your paperback, whatever. But also consider, does your book need to be, if it's that complex, does it need to be printed in color to really carry over well? If so, then you're looking at a full color print. How much will that cost you? There's just so much that goes into that you have to consider and run the numbers yourself. When doing color print, again, it's going to cost you more, which means the book will cost more. Then will people buy it? Are you pricing yourself out of the market? For a complicated book, I'll say it one more time, really look and make sure that it's not more complicated than it needs to be. Can you simplify and say, to download these charts and graphs, go to my website and download them for free. And then they give you your email address and you build your mailing list up, and they get these free documents to go with the book. I would be seriously considering all of that, because a complicated book usually turns into complicated publishing, printing, and cost. All right. Wendy here. I just went through the 5-day Amazon ad profit challenge, and I'm wondering if it is all the work to figure this out. I have just one nonfiction book, and Amazon won't let me use custom text because they don't like the subtitle. I also stopped my BookBub ads in order to try to figure this out. My sales from 4 to 5 days and sometimes up to 7 to 9 went dry. So from 4 to 5 a day and 7 to 9 a day, they totally stopped. So I've reinstated them. Question: is it really going to be worth the effort to figure all this out and be patient for the results, or spend my time doing other things like libraries, podcasting, etc.? Wendy, that is a question that goes by your data, your experiences. So do I think Amazon ads can be wonderful and drive a book? Yes, I absolutely do. That being said, it doesn't mean that they work the best for every book. I have a client right now that we run Amazon ads for on a very low level just to keep him in the searches, but most of his sales don't come from there. They come from Google ads because he's nonfiction. He's got a business book, and most of his attention, most of his leads come from Google because that's where business people are hanging out. So if you have a nonfiction book that is getting attention, if you're getting sales from other outlets, don't discount that. Yes, everyone, I think, in my opinion, you should try Amazon ads, because you never know what is going on and you never know if it will work or not. But that doesn't mean that that's all you can do, or that's the only thing that you should stick to. Maybe Amazon ads don't really work for you. Stick with what does work. Now, I will say BookBub ads are fantastic in short spurts. However, if you run BookBub ads continuously, you start reaching the same audience. And if you're constantly talking about your book to the same audience at a discounted price, they will quickly, it'll run dry. So BookBub ads, I like to run once every other month, once every 3 months, and I like to hit them hard, usually with a book that is discounted or $4.99 or lower. I would not be doing a book that's priced at $9.99. People go to BookBub for discounted books. So there's that consideration. Look at Google ads, look at Facebook ads, find where your audience is, meet them there, and offer your book and run your ads there. All right. Let me see. Let's go back to email. All over the place today. Let me see. All right. Anita sent in a couple of questions. And I know, Anita, you said you'd be live, so hopefully we're getting these in for you. Let's just go down the list. So Anita is the author of 25 books and another one to be published in the next month or so. Wow. Good job. My independent publishing business was incorporated in 1991. My books are currently available for downloading from my website. They are also available as print on demands on Amazon. A year ago, I mailed 13,000 targeted flyers to churches. I didn't get one response. I often wonder whether the post office failed to deliver them. So Anita has a couple of questions, but first, I just want to talk about this mailing of flyers. Way back when, I won't tell you how long, but a long time ago, I was a receptionist for a large corporate company. And in that corporate company, we got mailings and flyers every day. This was a big company, and I went through the mail, and I will say that I filled up a trash can almost every single day with flyers that they just went in the trash. Very rarely did they make it to the person with buying power or the person who might be interested. This is why I recommend emails rather than paper flyers and spending the cost in a mailing. Very rarely when you send out a mailing does it get to the person you want it to go to, unless it is personally put in with a real letter, with a real package, and that's going to take a lot more money. If you are sending an individualized book with a personalized letter to someone, it will probably get opened by them or at least their assistant. But if you are just sending out a pamphlet or a newsletter or something like that in the mail, like actual physical mail, most of the time they don't make it anywhere. So that's why we like emails, because emails generally are going to that person's inbox. Yes, sometimes we have an info email, like at New Shelves, we have info at New Shelves that kind of goes to a general email. And then I have my email, which is Keri at New Shelves. And if you email me there, it comes directly to me. Same thing happens in big companies. If you can get an email of the library director, you're actually getting in their inbox. You have a lot more chance of being seen and your book being bought. Acquisition librarians, same thing. So I don't really highly recommend, for most cases, a print mailing, because very rarely do I think you see a return on investment. Go with a library or an email that, yes, takes time, but does not take your funds, and also is more likely to get directly to the person. So that was my bunny trail of advice, but let's go back to your questions. Number 1, I tried unsuccessfully to upload 2 of my 5.5 by 8.5 books to Ingram Spark several months ago and gave up in frustration. So Ingram Spark has recently gone through some updates. I think they've ironed out some of the wrinkles. I would definitely give it a new try. Also know, though, that the formatting for Ingram Spark is not the same as KDP. It's often off by fractions of an inch. So you may need to look at your formatting size as well. With that said, again, Ingram Spark had some bumps along the road a couple months back, and I think they're getting a little bit better, so I would try again. Ingram Spark is a fantastic way to get your book into Ingram Wholesaler. Keep in mind, though, knowing that you use Amazon's print on demand, if your book is in expanded distribution through Amazon, but you own your own ISBN, they currently have your book up on Ingram Spark, so they will not allow you to upload the same book. You would have to transfer the title from their account to your account. And certainly more information on that. But if your book's in expanded distribution, you will not be able to upload that like a new book. You will get stuck. You have to transfer your title over from KDP's dashboard to your own. So keep that in mind. And if that's the case, Anita, shoot me an email, info@newshelves.com, and I can give you some real-time advice on how you might be able to make that transfer a little easier. Should you go with the Amazon expanded distribution? I don't recommend it. Number 1, you're giving part of your profit away, and also they set your terms. It will be 25% discount, non-refundable. And so what that means is that you may get into libraries, you may get consideration that way. You will not get into bookstores with a 25% discount. It's not steep enough for them. So it does depend on your plans and your hopes to get into bookstores or libraries, but I don't recommend going through expanded distribution because they take part of your profit, they set the terms, they have more control, and you know, if you're going to go through the self-publishing route and do all of that, I think that it just bodes well to make sure that you maintain control and distribution of your book. All right, what are the most inexpensive and effective internet ads for driving traffic to my website and Amazon? I would say, as far as inexpensive and effective, I'd be looking at Facebook ads. Facebook ads can be so targeted. I know everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, when we were talking about Ritz crackers yesterday, and then I got onto Facebook and suddenly I was seeing ads for Ritz crackers. That's because all of our technology and our social media are tracking information about us, which can be a little scary at times, but also very helpful as marketers, because we can then go market to people that are specifically looking for products like ours. So if you know that you have a book that fits in a certain genre, a certain stereotype, then you can go pick those. If you have a children's book, you can reach out specifically on Facebook to parents of children in kindergarten. You can reach out to parents with children from 5 to 8 years old. You can reach out to parents who follow Paw Patrol. So many things that you can do, and you can target really well. I have seen our Facebook ads going directly to a Amazon page or to a website perform really well for $25 to $50 per month. So that's a really inexpensive way to drive traffic to a targeted audience constantly. And I would check into that if you're really on a tight budget but want to explore some advertising. And also, the next question is, how do I reach new individuals? And same thing, Facebook is great because you're targeting an interest, but it's a new market. You are not putting up an ad and trying to reach the people already following your author's page. You're reaching out to a new market. So I really like Facebook for that as well. What are your thoughts about Smashwords? Smashwords is generally used for digital distribution. I personally prefer draft to digital. Smashwords was kind of the first on the scene for a lot of digital distribution. However, in my opinion, my recent experience, draft to digital is easier for the average person to use. And so that's what I use now. And how can I access all the information you have given over the past years? You can absolutely check out our blog on newshelves.com. We've got a blog that you can go back and you can search. I think it goes back like 5 or 6 years, so definitely a really long ways on that. And then also we have Free Advice Fridays YouTube channel where we put up our videos kind of after the fact. So if you have not yet subscribed to our Free Advice Fridays YouTube channel, which did recently move, I'm going to put this right in the chat box. And I would love if you went and subscribed there. You can see old videos, you can see up and coming videos, and if you ever miss a Free Advice Friday, it does end up on there after a week or two. So absolutely, YouTube and subscribe. And then newshelves.com for our blog is also a great way to access old information or current things. Sign up for our newsletter. We're back on track doing that weekly, where we're just doing industry news. And then we also every time we have a blog and things like that, we'll send out a letter updating people. So hope that helps. All right, we've got a question about a website. If I have an author website for children's books, should it be myname.com or is there a better route? Patty, I'd say yourname.com is the best. It's preferred. If I was ever going to have a website, it would be keribarnum.com. If you are a writer and you're Lee Child, it'd be leechild.com. However, if you have a really common name and that doesn't work or it's already taken, get a little creative. You may do your name followed by the word author. So we may have deniseauthor.com. Or you may choose to do your book series. If you know that your children's book series is very much a series and that's all you plan on branding, you can do the lions that romp all over.com, or you can do something like that. Just know that the broader you can go, the better, because you can take a website that is keribarnum.com. I can then put my marketing information under there. I can put mysteries. I could do children's books. I can put everything that is belonging to me or that I work with under one website. Whereas if I brand very specifically towards an audience or, like a series or a actual title, then I'm very limited. So that when I have a new book or I have new information, I have to start all over again, which, that kind of stinks. Especially if you don't like doing web pages, which I do not. So there we go. And Katie McQuaid here saying, everybodylovesgrace.com because that's her series and that's what she's branded and she's very committed to it. So it works for her for a series. You're welcome, Patty. All right, let me go back to our questions here. All right. Lots of just comments back and forth. All right, David, how can I reduce the cost of my books? I'm using Ingram Spark for a larger format, 8.5 by 11, 4-color book. Short of ordering a print run, what other options are there for reducing the cost of a book? I'd rather not find a printer in China. What other advice do you have in this regard? David, as far as reducing your costs, it's pretty limited. You can do a short print run. You don't have to go to China. You can do the US, but you are going to have to front the money up front and have a large print run in order to make that happen. And then you have to distribute your books and you actually have to house them somewhere or pay a distributor, which gets pricey in itself. The other option is to go black and white. That may work for you, that may not, I don't know. But 4-color print, unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's beautiful and it's glorious, but it's more expensive. So I'd kind of rock hard place on that one. Short print run, US or abroad is an option, but otherwise black and white if that works for you, or you just stick with the higher cost book, and it is what it is. And sometimes your margins are smaller, or your book has to be priced a little bit more. All right, should I copyright my personal images if I put them on Pinterest? How do I do that? Victoria, no, I don't think that you really need to. If you are a huge brand and you're putting up pictures of certain things, like Magnolia House for Chip and Joanna Gaines, if they're putting up their photos, they probably do. But no, I don't think that you need to copyright your personal images. I think that's a little overboard personally. So I would just move on by. It's one thing that we just don't have to bog ourselves down with. Look, and then I'm going to get notes from a copyright expert saying, well, my personal opinion. Yep, Patty, same thing. If it's personal artwork, I really wouldn't worry about it. Now, you can absolutely put it up on your website and share there. You can do just a watermark on your personal website or artwork that says, you know, the little C symbol in your name. There are different ways that you can kind of brand it as yours, but for the most part, I wouldn't worry about it. All right, this is a good one. Denise is asking, last year, in order to get on the Christmas list for bookstores and for books, they needed to be ready in June or July. Since COVID has turned everything upside down, what should we do for this holiday? Ooh, that's a big one. So this holiday, we don't know what to expect. We're kind of hoping and planning for things to be somewhat normal, that libraries will have holiday themed books and displays, and we're thinking, of course, books will sell on Amazon and bookstores that are holiday themed. But as far as having your books ready, it's really hard to call. Bookstores right now are being conservative with their ordering. Doesn't mean they're not ordering, but they're being conservative. Generally, they would be ordering their holiday books now, July or August. I think we may see that push back a little bit. I think that some bookstores that we would generally see order right now are going to order a little bit later because they're looking for cash flow right now. I could be wrong, but that's my feeling. I still think that you should have your holiday plan in order right now. Definitely have a plan. If you have a holiday book, let's say you have a Christmas book, even if you are on Amazon and you're planning to market on Amazon or Facebook, you should start November 1st. You should start early because a lot of people start shopping early. So always, at least for your marketing, for your ads, 2 months in advance is when I'd be looking. If you're going to bookstores and libraries, 3 months minimum in advance. And so that still stays. I think that's going to be the same, but I do think that we may see some later orders come in because of cash flow reasons. No, Annette, if you have a question in the Q&A, please leave it there. That's great. I'm just working my way through. We've got about 13, and actually yours is 2 down, so I'll be to it just a second. I have seen people review their own books on Amazon and a dad raving about his son's book. Go figure. Sonia, yep, sometimes they get passed, sometimes they get posted. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that we go and review our own books on Amazon. It looks a little desperate, but yes, sometimes they get past the bot. Sometimes they'll be up for a year and then get pulled down. Sometimes reviews that should go up don't, and those that shouldn't do. Again, it's bots. It's not a person sitting there saying, oh, well, this, I'm just going to slide this guy under. Who cares if it's his own book? They're bots. And so if they don't hit it, then they don't. And sometimes they do. It kind of is what it is. It's a failable system, but it's a system put in place to kind of protect the buyer. So we have to respect that. That is funny, though. All right, Miss Annette, I see you here. But do you have info on the breakdown of sales based on the different sales channels? Example, Amazon, Kindle, bookstores. Yes. So I've got some general information. This is from 2019, and this is US only, although stats for abroad were very similar. Ebooks in the US, as far as physical books, about 48% of physical books were ordered directly from Amazon, and Amazon fulfilled those books. The other 52% came from other outlets. That can be gift stores, retailers, Barnes & Noble, other bookstores. But Amazon's it's a big player. And I think this year, 2020 numbers, when they come out, we're going to see even more sales will come from Amazon. However, I've also seen with COVID going on, a lot of people rallying around their local bookstores. So I think we might see some back and forth and tug of war there. But last year, 2019, 48% of books came from Amazon for hardcover, paperback, and all of those. As far as ebooks, there were 89% of ebooks were bought and downloaded directly from Amazon and Kindle. 89%. It's a huge amount. The other 11% was kind of sprinkled around. I believe that iBooks had about 3%, Nook had 2%, I believe, and then the rest was kind of out through Kobo in different places. But 89% was for Amazon for ebooks in 2019. So as far as people who are selling directly from their website, I don't have those stats. It's not something that's tracked nationally, but Amazon's a big player. Doesn't mean you can ignore anyone else, but Amazon's a huge player. And then bookstores, honestly, they're still hanging on, 52% with bookstores and retailers. So that tells me we still have to pay attention to them and market to them, because this year especially, I think people are going to try to support their local bookstores. Whether it be a chain or not, I think people are trying to order directly from stores or go into stores. So I'm curious to see what the numbers actually pan out to be in the long term. All right. Is it okay to put Amazon reviews on my website? Yep. As long as they're posted online on Amazon, it's now public domain and you can put them up on your website. I do recommend that you cite them. You either put the reviewer's name or you say reader review, something to that effect. But they are public domain and you may use them as long as they are posted online on Amazon, something like that. You're all set there. Okay, how would you calculate, got my accent coming out. How would you calculate the sales price of a digital format compared to a hardcover paperback? Generally, you are looking at a price for your ebook that is divided by 3 or 4. So in general, if your book, let's say, is $20, you're probably looking around a $5 ebook price. This is not for library distribution. This is for direct retail sales, 3 to 4 times the price. So if you've got a $20 book, you're looking at a $5 to $9 book is what I would say. Also, again, look at your comps, look at what's selling, because although that may be true and standard for some books, when you look at, let's say, romance books tend to perform best at $2.99 and $3.99. Yet some of their paperbacks will sell for $17.99. So you have to look at your comps, but a good rule of thumb is divide your price, your retail price of the book, paperback, by 3 to 4 times, and you've got a good ballpark to start from. All right, what do you recommend for creating a master marketing plan, including timelines to create the individual components? Are we talking about what software, Stephen? Because if you're using a software, I personally love spreadsheets. I just said that on camera. I love spreadsheets. My name is Keri and I have a problem. I really like lists and I like spreadsheets. So I track things in spreadsheets. I come out with my plan that way. I do think that when you're looking at a publishing plan, you really have to go chronologically. You have to sit down and think what happens when. Some people will do it by the month. Some people will do it by the year. But I do think that sitting down and having a plan really helps make things go out just more smoothly. At least you have an idea of what needs to be done. I personally start with a list of what needs to be done, whether that be publishing, formatting, or directly to the marketing. I need to get a library kit together. I need to reach out to libraries. I need to do XYZ. And then I make myself a list. From a list of what needs to be done, I start planning out and plotting out a timeline. Some people, they literally like a Word document timeline, or they have project management software. There's all different ways to do it. Find out how your brain works and figure it out that way. And that's the best that, I mean, I can offer. Some people, notebook. They literally want a notebook and draw a timeline and do it that way. If it works for you, then use it. Don't fight what works for you, because that's what will make you successful, is embracing what you enjoy, what triggers in your brain, and what works. All right, let's see. I love this. Final question, I promise. Randy, I don't believe you, but that's okay. We can still be friends. How do you Zoom and Facebook Live at the same time? I love that. So that is one. I might actually have to make a video and put it on YouTube. When you are doing Zoom, when you go live, there is a block that says more, and it's down at the bottom. When you click on that, it gives you the option to live stream. So Randy, that's a fun question, but I will make a video, and then I'll make the video available so you can learn how to Zoom and Facebook Live. If you have enough subscribers on YouTube, you can also YouTube Live. Zoom has a lot of cool features. So I'll make a video and I will send that to you. If I forget, Randy, shoot me an email and I'll make sure I do that for you. All right, do you know how to do watermarks? Is there an app? Linda, there are a lot of apps. The best thing for a watermark, I think, is get your logo, whatever it is, remove the background so you have a vectored image, so you have just an image with no background. And then using software, you can use Canva. Word Swag is a popular one for a cell phone app that you can use, and you literally are just doing a semi-transparent image in a corner somewhere like that, and that is how you watermark something. Not super hard. I do recommend that if you're watermarking something, that you try to put it in the body of the image. I personally try not to watermark something down at the bottom. Like a lot of people think, well, bottom right-hand corner, that way it's not in the way of anything. But if I'm going to crop something out, no problem. I'll just crop it up and I lose a little bit on the bottom and I lose your watermark. I usually recommend that you try to do your watermark faintly somewhere that fits in the body of the image. So that way it's, you know, if you're cropping it out, you've got a big hole in it and it looks funny. All right. Do you have opinion with Digipod, which does print on demand and short run? I have heard of Digipod, Linnea, but I've not personally used them. So I can't give you any personal experience, but you guys, if anyone else has used Digipod, we'd love to hear from you in the comments over to the side, or email me and let me know what you've thought of them. Again, I've heard of them, but no personal experience and no clients that I know personally have used for them. Yes, and Annette is saying you can also use Adobe Reader for watermarks on PDF, and that is very easy, which is a great tip for books especially. Thanks, Annette. All right. Okay. Contest. Oh, did I miss one? I got a follow-up question, but I didn't see the first question, so let me go back. All right, just wondering if a uniquely named publisher, which does not include the author's name, is eligible for contests that say self-published authors need not apply. Here's my opinion on things that say self-published authors don't need to apply or not eligible. There are plenty of reviews and contests and things that say self-published authors will not be considered. What that really means is that authors and books that are not professionally done will not be considered. I can't tell you how many times I've put in a review for something that says, oh, no self-published authors, and we get a review, or we get in this contest. And the thing is that if you are presented professionally as a business, if you have a cover that's on track, you have professional editing, and your book was done professionally, apply. The worst they can do is say no. Now, if it's a big buy-in, something like that, consider the possibilities. But I think if your book's professionally done, you can still do it self-published, and sometimes you get in there. And a follow-up question to the contest question, What if I publish another author? Will 2 authors qualify me as a real publisher? If not, what if I list a friend as the owner of the press? I wouldn't worry about that. I would give yourself a business name. Now, if they do require a business or a publisher contact, I would name someone else. Absolutely. I would not make up a name. I would not lie. However, I would have someone that is your contact for the press or the business. That could be a friend, that could be a sister. Have someone else so you have another name on there aside from yourself. And as far as publishing other authors, this whole real publisher thing, it's traditional publishing. They're looking for a large publishing house is really what they're looking for. However, there are plenty of small and indie presses that get into these things as well. They're looking for people that are running a publishing house like a business with the professional components to publishing, like a true editor, proofreading, having official layout, having a legit cover. That's what they're looking for. And that's why they put these things in places, because they want to kind of funnel out the people who put up a book a week on Amazon only. So I wouldn't worry too much about that though, because I've seen your book and I've also seen, I've seen all your pages and things. So I don't think that's something you have to worry about much. All right, do you recommend a direct digital download function apart from Kindle on an author website? How would that work and how can I prevent piracy? Annette, if you're trying to sell your book directly on your website, you may look into BookFunnel. BookFunnel does have a sales site. I know quite a few authors who sell directly on their website, and what they do is when someone purchases, they send them a BookFunnel link that has a specific code for download, and then they can get it in Kindle, PDF, or ebook as they wish, and that is how they do it that way. And BookFunnel does help the piracy. It does allow just one download, so you can do that. I wouldn't expect the majority of your sales to come that way, but I've seen it used successfully, especially for nonfiction authors. All right. Let me see. I've got a couple more questions, and it's right at 11 o'clock, and I do have an 11:15 appointment, but let's try to get a couple more in. Should you register your company name as a DBA? We did cover this a little bit in the beginning. Depends on you and your personal goals and what you plan on using your company for. If you're just publishing a book, I don't think it's necessary. However, if you plan on making a business or a lifelong career as an author, it may be smart for you. Contact your lawyer and your CPA and get their advice. All right. Will the person who has written 25 books and had the bad experience with mailing flyers to churches respond in the chat? I'm guessing you're a Christian author and I'd like to connect. I love that. If you would like to connect with each other, please feel free to also email me. Joni is looking to connect with you. So I think that is great. I believe it was Anita who did that. So Anita, Joni would like to connect. She's a fellow author who feels like you guys might be able to mesh well. I love that. We're making friends. Fantastic. All right. I think we got that one. All right, guidance on getting my book copyrighted. I was told by my hybrid publisher in Canada, not necessary. However, I'm learning otherwise here in the States. I highly recommend that you copyright your work. In the States, you just go to, it's just a form. I think it's $55. You fill out a copyright form and you do that. I am no copyright expert. I will say it right here. But if you just Google copyright, absolutely you can do it that way. You guys are cracking me up in the chat because I'm getting all of these pop-ups saying, I want friends too. I'm in this genre. Guys, if you are not already in our Facebook group, if you go to freeadvicefridays.com and you join our Facebook group, we love making friends there. So you can do that. And then that way, maybe you guys can actually connect. How fun. I feel like we've got a new aspect. All right, so copyright, absolutely. If you are in Canada, I don't know the specific rules there, but in the US, it's a form. Definitely just Google copyright. It'll all come up and then you can submit there. All right, guys, I think that's all the time we have for today. I want to make sure that we got our We did. We got all of our emailed questions in. Thank you guys for joining me. This was so much fun. I hope you join us next week for Free Advice Fridays. If you have questions, email them in over the week so you don't forget, or if you won't be available, it's questions@freeadvicefridays with an S at the end.com. And we do answer those every week. And then it goes up on YouTube. So again, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. You can also get to that through freeadvicefridays.com. You can go in and you can connect to our Facebook group. You can connect to our YouTube, all the good things. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.